This guy's giving like a multiple account of like, here's what's going on in the Muslim world, here's what's going on in the Christian world.
Yeah.
He calls it the Latin world the whole time. But so apparently the fucking French, man, are apparently at the center of this.
The frogs were over there.
The frogs are big time, bro. Because he said
Guy de Lucien or whatever in there.
Yeah, the one there was was that the guy you're saying?
That was in the movie. Kingdom of Heaven. You get to the Knights Templar?
Not yet. This is they tease you with the Lionheart. They hit you with a little bit of Lionheart, which I'm like, all right, I'm ready for that.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back here at Comic History Tales. Today we're going to be listening to a segment from Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. I will leave all links to their podcast down below, so definitely go and check them out. Today's topic of discussion are the Crusades. If you don't know what the Crusades are, they were a series of military expeditions initiated by Christians from Europe to fight Muslims over the Holy Land, aka Jerusalem. The first crusade was in 1095 and it ended in 1291. In total, there were 8 major crusade expeditions. Now let's go and listen what Matt McCusker and Shane Gillis have to say about this.
But they they go in and there's just these dukes. Who dat?
I don't know.
There's these they're explaining like how there was just these knights who were like you know, they're not like the king, but there's just these disparate bands of just like military royalty.
Yeah.
That just rolled around. What you were saying earlier on basically ponies.
Yeah.
And they would just like sit around and
just
like
to reiterate, the horses weren't big.
Tiny horses.
They rode ponies.
Ponies, dude, armored ponies.
Yeah.
And like if you were like, there would just be these knights kicking around on like land, like, you know, with their vassals and shit, and they'd get hired every now and again to just like charge some dude on a pony.
Yeah.
Because that was like if you were trying to fight, a dude would just come run you over with a pony, and then he'd be like, all right, dude, fucking, I'll pay the king or whatever what I owe him. And they're like, you better, I'll fucking kill you.
Have you seen Kingdom of Heaven?
No.
Yo, you're gonna love it.
I can't wait.
It's fucking tight.
Do they keep it pony?
Ridley Scott, dude.
Does he keep it fucking?
Nah, he doesn't keep it 100 on ponies.
Come on, man. Nobody does. Nobody does.
Yeah, you can't do the Braveheart speech on a pony.
Why, dude?
You can't.
Just, dude, it's such an important detail of the time.
It's very important.
And they were crazy expensive. To have a pony was like unheard of. Like no one else could afford a pony. So you're a knight. You're on your pony, and you had 4 servants.
Although the Arabs may have had stallions. They may have had.
I think they were on at least in the beginning. I think they're still on. They're on ponies as well. So it's pony on pony attack.
The majority of medieval horses, including those used in war, had a height of 4 foot and 10 inches, which is the maximum height of a pony today.
There's nothing you can do.
But so they have these guys in the Christian world. It's just the knights kicking around, doing their thing. And there's this one guy from France who was just, he's a Frank. This is like 1000. So I don't think France was barely even started yet. It was just the Franks people. But his name was like Folk or something. I forget the guy's name, but he was a brutal fucking duke and warlord. And he was just fucking people up. And then like towards the end of his life, he was like, he got really into Catholicism or Christianity, Roman Catholic church. So he was like, back then, in order to like make up for your murderous deeds, they would go on these like epic pilgrimages to like Jerusalem. They're saying that's a huge part of how it started. So Pope Gregory started it off as basically you had these like rich elite dudes going into the Holy Land. This guy's like a warlord, and he's like, why the fuck are Muslims in charge of this? This fucking sucks. Yeah. And they were saying they were getting unfairly taxed because they said it's unclear who really started the aggression, because the Christian account is like Pope Urban gave this huge speech in France being like, dude, they want to tax you so bad that like they're worried people are swallowing gold. So if they suspect you of smuggling gold by swallowing it, they'll cut you open and open up your insides to fucking look into what nature has kept hidden, dude. So that's the Christians were coming through like, yo, they're slaughtering Christians. There was one lord who was going over on these pilgrimages who apparently had his eye pulled out. Yeah. They said it was like an apocryphal tale, but he carried his eye back to be like, yo, fuck Muslims, dude, look what they did to my eye. Yeah. So all these dudes were getting. So they had these like.
He was like, "This used to be in my fucking head."
But a fucking Muslim
ripped out my fucking eye
because he refused to pay taxes.
Get your swords, dude. We're going back.
They'd be like, "We're going on holy." These guys were like never taking shit ever in their life. Yeah. They were just in charge of it, basically everything and everyone they knew. They're like, all right, time for pilgrimage, and they'd go through the towns. I'm like, and they'd be like, what the fuck are you? And they'd pull a sword to them. They'd be like, give me half your shit. And they'd be like, what the fuck? Yeah. So these dudes were just running into buzzsaws. So they'd come back and be like, yo, fuck those guys.
Dude, does it get into the fact that Muhammad never set foot in Jerusalem? Ever?
I thought they said that's where he ascended from.
Yeah, they yap about it. They made that up.
But he never did.
They just were like, no, this is ours. This is where Muhammad came. They're like, dude, Muhammad was never here. They're like, yeah.
Really?
This is ours. Jerusalem's ours. It's like,
They didn't.
bro,
So they didn't get into that.
the Dome of the Rock. Look into it.
Really?
Yeah, they fibbed, dude. They said he teleported to Jerusalem and then he ascended. It's like, dude, you guys are lying. You're cheating to get Jerusalem.
So Muslims believe that Muhammad was transported to Jerusalem during his night journey. The Quran describes how the Prophet was taken by the miraculous steed Burak from the great mosque of Mecca to Al-Aqsa, the farthest place of prayer, where he prayed and then to visit heaven in a single night in the year 621.
It's obviously Catholics.
I would agree. Do is give it up. The least they can do is give it up.
The Muslims have no say.
Dude.
Other than it is in the Arab world.
Dude, I don't
Other than it is on their land.
True.
But.
I don't want to, but dude, they kind of Sprite remixed the religion.
They did.
And I know I was with Christianity.
We already had Coke.
We had Coke.
Coca-Cola. They were like, no, Coke Zero. We were like, dude, you guys need to shut the fuck up.
Dude, they really did mishmash deal, and we got
it. I could be completely wrong, but I thought Islam came out of Muhammad being like, I think he was a general, but it was kind of like, because he lived in a heavy trade area, and he kind of came up with like codes of how to, like, it was good. It was like a moral way to make sure everything was cool with trading and how to operate and all that shit. I forget.
He went by the way of the sword towards the end.
Yeah, he did.
I heard a similar thing where, like, if you read the beginning of it, it's like, man, this is great. What beautiful verses. And then he apparently really dialed it up of like, yo, by the way.
Well, he was a man.
He was a man. He was a man.
He was a man. That's the thing. They were, you know.
He was just a dude. Then teleported.
He could fall to it.
Then he teleported.
He did teleport and ride up on a chariot or some shit.
Yeah. So that did happen.
We worship a god, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
Jesus was not. I mean, he was a man, of course. Was a man. But he was the Holy Trinity.
There is a heresy stating that Jesus was a man. Obviously, he got kicked out of the Catholic Church. One of the heresies, dude. There's a ton of heresies. One of them was that Jesus was just a dude who got just like taken over by the Spirit of God, and then as soon as he died on the cross, it just went up, and that was that. And Pope was like, "Fucking." There was a bunch of dudes like, "No fucking way, dude. Yeah, bullshit." Get him out of here.
Set him on fire.
Get him the fuck out of here.
Do something bad to him.
Just dressed like maniacs.
Dressed like a moron.
Bull fucking shit, dude. That didn't happen. Get the fuck out of here.
Think of the worst thing ever and do it to him. Get him out of here. Rip his fucking tongue out.
Yeah, they just were like, exactly. It came up with like a Muslim code. Here's what we're going to do. And then like, yo, and in terms of like, yeah, dude, actually like Abraham was kind of sick. Jesus was kind of sick. That was like, but then it became like, genuinely like a militant. Yeah, and this is what they're arguing. Like, the military shit was built into Muslim theology. That was like an easy. There was no big quarrels to get into that. Yeah. Although he was arguing like they really weren't that interested because they had already like basically the Muslim Empire had just been established and smashed.
Yeah, it was
dominating. But then it fell apart. The infighting. The Sunnis and Shiites go back that far.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't know that.
They disagree on it was on Muhammad's successor.
Oh, exactly, dude. On Fatima, they were like, I'm related to Fatima, his wife or niece or whatever. I'm related to all the
they're still going,
caliphs.
The Sunnis and Shiites are still bickering.
That was based on who was related to fucking Muhammad, which is crazy. Yeah. I had no idea that's what that was.
Oh, really?
No clue.
Yeah.
It went back that far.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck you, dude.
Iran and Saudi Arabia are still tearing the world apart because of that. Because they're like, dude, that was his uncle. It's like, nah,
you fool.
You fucking fool.
Well, the funny part was, this is what I didn't realize.
And it's definitely Saudi Arabia and Iran tearing the world apart, not us.
So after the death of Muhammad in 632 AD, the Muslim world would split into two camps. The Sunnis, who believed that the caliphs of the Islamic community should be chosen by consensus, and a second group, the Shia, who believed that Muhammad's successors should be members of his own family. So that was all for today. As always, I will put all the links to Matt and Shane's secret podcast down below in the description, both their YouTube channel and their Patreon. So go and check it out and show the dogs some love. Now, if you have any suggestions for upcoming videos, put them down in the comments below and I'll check them out. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again here at Comic History Tales.